Zohran Mamdani versus the Machine. Fault Lines documentary finally came out. And your boy's in this.
Put your hands together for the next mayor of New York City, none other than Zohran.
If you had to choose 3 words to describe Mamdani, what would they be?
Relentless, positive, and visionary.
Good afternoon, Harlem.
Smug, phony, arrogant.
How you all doing?
Radical, extremist, dangerously inexperienced.
Energetic, positive, enigmatic.
The first thing I wanted to say was 34-year-old Muslim socialist.
Describe Mamdani in 3 words.
I would say New York City.
New Yorkers have chosen Zohran Mamdani to be their mayor.
My friends, we have toppled a political dynasty.
His meteoric rise from an unknown assemblyman to frontrunner in the mayoral election was propelled by his promise to make life more affordable for everyday New Yorkers.
We are an existential threat to a broken status quo that buries the voices of working people beneath corporations.
To achieve this, he said he would freeze rents, make buses free, and offer universal childcare.
What he's calling for is not that radical, and more importantly, it's something that a lot of New Yorkers really, really want.
But to pay for it all, he said he would impose a new tax on New York's wealthiest residents, earning him a powerful coalition.
It's so funny because, like, I shot so much stuff like this, and everyone wanted to talk about the Zohran potential victory, right? And I don't remember what I was saying in it, but, like, you'll probably hear that I'm being very careful with my language because I'm, like, worried that what if it doesn't happen, you know? There's always failure. It always seems impossible until it's done, you know?
Enemies that includes real estate interests, billionaire hedge fund managers. Why do you find Mamdani so threatening?
Well, I think socialism is not good for New York.
And one of New York's most famous exports.
He's a communist. We're going to go to a communistic state. That's so bad for New York.
In this episode of Fault Lines, we go inside the race for mayor of New York City, a campaign that went beyond New York to the very future of the Democratic Party.
The Democratic Party is very good at not letting people into the tent who are going to be genuinely troublesome.
And what lies ahead for the new mayor of New York.
Let's be clear about the forces he's up against, and let's be clear about how unethical and rapacious and powerful they are. This story's not over. These people play for keeps.
This is bigger than Zohran. You can use that as a title.
It's true.
Just over a month before the mayoral election, we joined a group of New Yorkers marching against rent increases.
The richest city of the richest country in the world, and our standards of living for a lot of us ought to be much higher. A lot of Americans live without dignity. Poverty is so punishing in America.
Behind the protesters is the mayor's residence here in New York City. It's called Gracie Mansion. Eric Adams there for a few more months. One of the legacies of his term here as mayor of New York City was that he allowed the rents to be raised every year. New York's rent stabilization.
Scumbag. Just remember, he literally could have had that rent adjustment board refuse to raise rents, for the record, and he just never did.
System gives its mayor an unusual amount of control over the city's affordability.
In New York City, over 2.4 million tenants are rent stabilized. So under Eric Adams, our current mayor, rent has gone up for a total of 12%. We raise our rent every single year. Unsustainable, like regardless of, the rent going up, like people just can't afford rent right now.
That bothers New Yorkers who every month they get paid and they have to pay rent, groceries, transportation, childcare, and every month they get squeezed even more.
I grew up in this city. I was born in 1980. There used to be a middle class in New York.
Oh, shit. Spencer. No way. That's my GOAT. That's the man, dude. Spencer Ackerman is fantastic. Fantastic reporter, fantastic journalist. I've had him on the show before.
In New York. In my living memory, that's gone.
I just lost a tooth this morning eating a bagel. Oh, no. So, it's going to cost me a couple of $1,000 now to have an implant and everything put in. I'm 77, I'm on a fixed income. Choice between that and food and paying the rent, it's getting hard.
So housing affordability is the top issue for New Yorkers, and Zohran Mamdani had a very, very clear answer to us for what he was going to do about it.
We are going to deliver a 4-year rent freeze for more than 2 million New Yorkers across the city.
Zohran Mamdani was an unlikely frontrunner in New York City's mayoral election. A democratic socialist in a field of establishment Democrats, he ran on a platform of progressive policies that he claimed would make life more affordable for New Yorkers.
I'll freeze the rent for millions of tenants, make buses fast and free, and deliver universal childcare. And before you ask, I'll pay for it by taxing the rich.
Mamdani's populist economic message in a period of rising inflation and diminishing economic opportunities resonated with New Yorkers and with Americans across the country.
Even if you weren't following the race, if you were just a person of a certain age on the internet, you were seeing him everywhere.
His message went viral on social media, and within months of announcing his run, he'd become a national figure.
What put him on the radar was this man-on-the-street interviews with New Yorkers about why they didn't vote for Biden and why some of them were like Biden to Trump voters.
The swing is because people want lower prices. They probably believe that Trump would give them that.
They gave answers to him that didn't really have a lot to do with MAGA and didn't have a lot to do with Trump.
And that's your hope, to see a little bit more of an affordable life?
Absolutely.
They had a lot to do with how Democrats have been in power and their lives have only gotten less and less affordable.
And I'm going to be running on that platform.
You would think that many politicians would think to simply ask their constituents what they want and then design a campaign around those issues. But it did feel very novel and refreshing and hopeful.
While he was unknown outside of New York, Mamdani had been steadily building a broad coalition of support as a state assemblyman.
It's not a question of how, it's a question of if we have the political will.
Mamdani is a member of America's largest socialist party, the Democratic Socialists of America, or DSA. There are now 250 DSA members who have won elected positions at local, state, and federal levels, representing a system that until recently has been largely unpopular in the U.S.
I think America... Okay, to be honest, if you try that in Texas, the answer would be terrible. No. Localize the needs. Adjust the policies to the needs of the constituents. Americans have never understood what socialism or communism is in general. They just feared it.
But after, 30, 40 years of neoliberal politics, the promise of trickle-down economics, Reaganism, hasn't come to bear. And on the other end, you become increasingly open to alternative systems, and socialism is right there.
As an assemblyman, Mamdani was outspoken on Israel's genocide in Gaza.
How we doing?
Using his position in Albany to advance this cause.
Are we ready to end New York State's subsidy of settler crime?
Yeah! And joining the growing protest movement against Israel in New York. On October 23, 2024, Mamdani announced he was running for mayor.
All of those young people in New York, huge protests with like tens of thousands of people that go largely uncovered by the media, those are all people he was able to convert into voters, and 50,000 of him he was able to convert into volunteers.
He was already working on the method that a lot of people on the left had been talking about, as far as identifying exactly what people were struggling with, and then just only hammering in those policy positions, those policy prescriptions to the issues that they were facing.
And the polling shows that in New York City and beyond, people's opinions on what's happening in Gaza has shifted. And I think the affordability ties into that. Because when you see a Republican president cutting Medicaid, firing federal workers, we continue to send billions of dollars to Israel, people get mad at that. They see that there's money, it's just not going to them.
It was a stark contrast to his main opponents at the beginning of the race, incumbent Mayor Eric Adams.
So this is not a city of handouts, this is a city of hands up.
Republican Curtis Sliwa.
Everybody knows that Andrew Cuomo is a fake, phony, fraudulent fugazi.
and Andrew Cuomo.
We need someone who knows what they're doing on day one because your lives depend on it.
A three-time governor of New York who resigned in disgrace in 2021.
The report said I sexually harassed 11 women.
I think everyone presumed Andrew Cuomo would win the primary.
Do we have working men and women in the hall tonight?
That's who he represents. That's him. That and himself. No one likes Andrew Cuomo. You have to understand that. Cuomo's politics are vindictive. He is famously short-tempered and long-memoried. People were afraid of endorsing anyone else because what happens when he wins? He's going to exact retribution. That's Andrew Cuomo.
But then when Mamdani won, it wasn't just he squeaked by. He won in a landslide.
Mamdani won the Democratic nomination for New York City mayor by 12 points, with the highest voter turnout in more than 35 years.
It shocked a lot of people.
You want to see the tiny ketchup bottle? Here.
Mamdani and his supporters, but it really shocked Cuomo and his supporters.
Like a lot of powerful people in New York were like, we have to do everything in our power to make sure that this guy, an unknown entity that is potentially uncontrollable and very damaging to our interests, doesn't become a popular mayor.
What you see when there is such a threat to the establishment is everything gets thrown at the wall. There's a panic.
In the lead up to the primary, the pro-Cuomo super PAC, Fix the City, raised $25 million, a record for a New York City mayoral race, a large portion of which came from billionaires opposed to Mamdani's platform.
So this is Billionaires Row?
Yes. This is an apartment I showed the other day. It's actually off market. This is a full floor, so
it's a full floor.
It's 8,000 square feet.
One apartment.
One apartment.
Eleonora Srugo is a luxury real estate agent specializing in high-end properties in New York City, giving her unique insight into the people putting millions against Mamdani's bid for mayor.
What do you hear from them in terms of their concerns?
Yeah, look, the biggest concern that myself, my peers, a lot of my clients have with Mamdani is ideological. I don't think it's practical.
In order to fund his progressive platform, Mamdani had proposed a 2% tax on New Yorkers earning over $1 million per year, and he made it a point on his campaign to call out New York billionaires directly.
Do you think that billionaires have a right to exist?
I don't think that we should have billionaires.
New York is home to more billionaires than any other city in the world, and Mamdani had pitted himself against them.
You are not going to tax them out of existence, but you can tax them out of wanting to spend time here.
The billionaire class understands that what happened in the primary is a revolt against them.
And that's why they're trying to go all out, game the system, use the rules that they have right now to throw as much money as they can into super PACs to stop Mamdani from winning.
One of the largest donors to Fix the City was the billionaire hedge fund manager, Bill Ackman. He took to social media in the days after Mamdani's primary win, promising millions to anyone who would run against Mamdani. We wanted to ask Bill why he believes he knows what's best for New Yorkers, so we attended an investor conference for a company he chairs.
And I'm curious, how much money have you put toward the New York City mayoral election? And should your wealth give you more power in a democracy?
I invested $500,000 with Andrew Cuomo, and it was not a very successful investment, certainly in the primary. And I think if a socialist, a pronounced socialist, a proud socialist, some would say communist based on some of his plans from a real estate perspective, were to become mayor of New York, it would have very negative signaling value for the city.
Ackman would go on to put another $1 million against Mamdani, and other billionaires spent even more.
The biggest problems can't be solved by national governments alone.
This asshole literally spent $3.5 million in the last week of the campaign, and he spent all of that on the Hasan did 9/11 ads. Like, personally, in the last week for his super PAC, he put $3.5 million on the Hasan did 9/11 attack ads, bro. That's crazy.
Michael Bloomberg, a former mayor of New York, donated over $9 million to a group backing Andrew Cuomo.
I think it's fair to understand that the billionaires think they own the city, that this is their city. When Bloomberg was mayor, he made an infamous comment that he saw New York City as a luxury product. And that's what he built.
The threat to them isn't a 2% tax hike. It's not a publicly owned grocery store. It's not a rent freeze that's really not a threat to their way of life. It's not a threat to their businesses. It's not a threat to their success or finances. It is a threat to their political power.
Capital.
It's a threat to their political power if the population starts hoping. That's what it is. They try to kill hope. I don't often get super spiritual, especially when we talk about campaigns, but it is truly the primary purpose of all of the anti-Zohran Mamdani shit. Because if the working class can bring forth, through the democratic process, the working class can bring forth a fighter, a champion for their causes that says openly who the villains are, then all of a sudden more and more people are going to start feeling emboldened. And if he delivers on those promises, oh my God, dude, that's a terrifying prospect.
Is threatened by Mamdani and his ideas and the growing popularity of socialism. It's right there in the name. Do we want to live in a society that prioritizes capital and the earning of money and the profit motive at whatever cost? Or do we want to live in a society that prioritizes society?
This is who Zohran Mamdani embraces. He's not who you think he is.
As Mamdani's popularity increased, his opponents focused on portraying him as an extremist.
Globalize the intifada, he won't condemn.
And mainstream media quickly adopted this framing.
So I want to give you an opportunity to respond here and now. Do you condemn that phrase, globalize the intifada?
That's not language that I use.
The media forces the issue of Israel onto Mamdani because they think that's a Mamdani killer. And they have good reason to, based on past performance, right?
Cuomo is not asked about his sexual harassment scandal to the extent that Zohran Mamdani is asked about the phrase globalize the intifada, or whether he thinks Israel has a right to exist. And the effect of that is to manufacture an environment where those things are at all equivalent, or Zohran standing up for Palestine is worse than molesting your coworkers.
The dangerous rhetoric against Mamdani spread well beyond New York, echoed by Republican lawmakers on radio shows.
What do you think is going to happen to all of you if Zohran Mamdani gets elected? I mean, it's going to be one big Sharia fest playing the call to prayer from the top of the Empire State Building.
How they're talking about him is so deeply dangerous.
I get messages that say the only good Muslim is a dead Muslim.
The man from Texas left him violent, threatening voicemails, and he was detained and arrested.
You're in Texas. Why are you this mad? This makes no sense.
That's scary, and it's rooted in a deep hate for Muslim people.
Mamdani's fellow Democratic lawmakers also launched attacks against him.
This is a very serious issue because people that glorify the slaughter of...
Yeah, that shit was so whack. I couldn't believe Kirsten Gillibrand, dude. They really broke new ground with this shit. James Clyburn just said that Mamdani's style of politics will work well in South Carolina primary voters, and he praised his campaign. We're ready for a socialist president. That's actually shocking, because he is the Bernie killer. That's crazy. I wish that energy was around. I don't know if that's real.
Jews create fear in our communities. The global intifada means destroy Israel and kill all the Jews.
Anti-Muslim bigotry is so deeply embedded in American politics, just as anti-Palestinian racism is, that sometimes it can be invisible.
Bro, he's about to see the light of Allah. That's why. I have it on good authority that Timothy Clyburn has actually reverted to Islam and has seen the light of Allah. He will be going to Jannah. That's what it is.
And it comes from both sides of the aisle. It's not Republicans who have a monopoly on Islamophobia. Both anti-Semitism and Islamophobia are bigotries, but one has institutional permissibility and institutional permission is used as a way to advance your career, even Islamophobia. And the other, there is no institutional permission, and you will get tremendous pushback.
After Mamdani won the primary, many Democratic leaders did not endorse him.
Thanks, everybody.
Including Senate Democratic leader Chuck Schumer.
Are you going to be endorsing Zohran Mamdani?
What are your thoughts on Canada? I'll be meeting with him. We had a good conversation. He's run a good campaign. I'll be meeting with him.
Thank you.
House Leader Hakeem Jeffries, whose district resides in New York City, waited 122 days after the primary before finally giving his lukewarm approval. But outside the halls of Congress, another faction within the Democratic Party was demanding their leaders get behind Mamdani.
We're going to outlive a lot of the people in power. Thank God.
The question is, are we going to become younger versions of who's currently there right now, or are we actually going to change things?
David Hogg founded Leaders We Deserve to challenge the incumbent Democrats he calls out of touch and ineffective.
I think DC and the establishment is full of a bunch of windsocks. They like to go whichever way they think the wind is blowing. Sometimes that will be in your direction.
David Hogg's transformation over this last year has been truly remarkable to observe. Actually, like he was doing like crazy shit back in the day, I feel like. Now he's becoming this force in the party that I kind of like. Dark Hog, punished Hog. I mean, there was still obviously like the Deja Fox stuff, so it's not like, I wouldn't say that he like the methods are all there or he's like fully on board. He famously, for those of you who don't know, got kicked out of the DNC literally for advocating for the positive changes that we all would agree on, like, you know, primarying old seats, institutional Democrats with newer talent, and I'm on board with that. Okay, but so did you? No, the actual DNC, not the convention, chatters. He was elected. He was appointed as the VP of the DNC. He was the vice chair of the, like, straight up party, the Democratic Party.
Sometimes it will be against you, but there's a real lack of principle that drives a lot of this, because what it boils down to a lot of the time is people just thinking about, like, well, what's best for me? What do I need?
Because the Democratic Party is a corpse and has been for some time. And every time it attempts to rejuvenate itself, whether that's through Bernie Sanders.
Yeah. And by the way, one of the first things that he did after getting pushed out of the DNC was going and fundraising for Zohran Mamdani. His PAC put like $100,000 behind Zohran Mamdani, and he won big on that. What are your personal thoughts on Chris Hedges? He is, I mean, regardless of whatever disagreements we might have ideologically, I have tremendous respect for Chris Hedges, and I always will. He is a major force in this country. You're talking about a man who literally has spent most of his time teaching prisoners, educating prisoners. You can't touch that.
Mamdani, the Democratic Party seeks to essentially thwart the movement within the party to address the concerns of the base, because the Democratic Party doesn't function as a political party. The base is irrelevant.
The donors are the real constituents in an era of pretty much unlimited post-Citizens United donation. Why would it be otherwise? As a politician, you can make money forever. You can make generational wealth forever. That is why Schumer, Jeffries, Gillibrand, so many others not just keep Mamdani at arm's length, but attack him. Because they recognize he upends this apple cart, he derails this gravy train.
Both Senator Chuck Schumer and House Leader Hakeem Jeffries have each received over $1.7 million from the pro-Israel lobbying group American Israel Public Affairs Committee, or AIPAC.
They're really telling all those people who voted for Mamdani, we don't care what you want. What game are they playing?
I mean, to appease AIPAC, the most successful foreign influence operation in American history. It's really not that complicated. People love to say these things, that everything's more complicated than it seems. Some things really are not. Yes. This is one of those things.
Barack Obama wrote about this in his memoir. If you criticize Israel too much, then expect to be faced by a well-funded opponent in your next election. So it's not some secret, you know. A former president of the United States has admitted to this kind of dynamic in Washington.
After the primary, Mamdani's polling numbers continued to rise. With the opposition split between a crowded field of challengers, President Trump weighed in.
I think if you have more than one candidate, we've got ourselves a communist mayor.
He was
President
right.
Trump is a native New Yorker.
It's happened.
He is obsessed with New York City, and he wants to have influence here, and he wants to continue to pull the strings as any way he can.
Reports circulated that the president was offering positions in his administration for Adams and Sliwa to drop out.
And we're not going to let somebody get into office and squander the taxpayer money from this country.
On September 28, 2025, the sitting mayor, Eric Adams, withdrew from the race.
That's why I'm here today to endorse Andrew Cuomo.
Cuomo is not a strong candidate. That is why I hesitate to use the word support. I believe that he is the better choice for the next 4 years.
Despite losing the primary, a string of past scandals, and his general inability to campaign effectively, Cuomo still continued to draw donations from billionaires and endorsements from politicians across the aisle.
It is a coalition of class interests. It is bipartisan, and it is deeply entrenched, and it is afraid of Zohran Mamdani, and it should be afraid of Zohran Mamdani.
As the general election approached, the pressure against Mamdani intensified.
The media attention for this race far exceeds what a normal mayoral race gets. It really speaks to the times about what this race represents.
Mamdani seemed to moderate on key issues in his campaign, including one of his main rallying cries, a 2% tax increase for New Yorkers who earn over $1 million a year.
If you could get the money and funding elsewhere, would you drop the call for the tax increase?
Absolutely. The most important thing is funding these agenda items.
And he walked back statements that had earned him the support of progressives during the primary.
He's told you what he thinks. He thinks the police are racist, wicked, corrupt.
Those are tweets which I have apologized for to New Yorkers and police officers directly.
He started moderating a whole lot his positions on the NYPD. I'm sure there were a lot of smart people whispering in his ear.
Yeah. As far as defund the police, that was not a sidestep or moderation. But yes, as far as like saying the police are racist, yes, he did back away from that. That, in my estimation, was for governance. That wasn't to win the election. I think he had the election wrapped up. I think that was for governance. The NYPD will be one of the biggest hurdles for Zohran Mamdani to overcome. It will be impossible to deal with. It's gonna be so difficult. In spite of his the NYPD is not racist. I'm sorry for saying that type shit that he said. Why though? Genuine question. Because the NYPD is one of the most powerful militaries on the planet. And the NYPD, especially in New York, is one of the most powerful forces in politics. Guys, the NYPD literally kidnapped Bill de Blasio, former mayor of New York's trans child, and doxed them on the timeline. What are you talking about? They are insane. They are this uncontrollable beast. Every mayor has had to deal with the NYPD. Every New York mayor has had to basically be at the mercy of the NYPD.
That was good politics. But what it conceals is that the NYPD will stop at nothing to destroy Zohran Mamdani's mayoralty.
The assemblyman will not denounce Hamas.
I said that I would discourage this language that I do not
Damn, they didn't put the assemblyman would not condemn Hasan Piker.
use.
The choice to moderate on some of these issues is confusing. Is it just that he is under so much pressure, or is it something bigger than that? Does he actually think to win he needs to moderate when it was his choice not to moderate that made people have such confidence in him and his integrity?
That's how I felt too. I agree with that.
I'm afraid, frankly, to know the answer.
Though a different candidate than when he started his campaign, Mamdani won.
On January 1st, I will be sworn in as the mayor of New York City.
His election represents a monumental shift in New York politics, the Democratic Party, and how Americans feel about the state of Israel.
The people lining up against Zohran Mamdani tried to make this mayoral election a referendum on anti-Zionism being anti-Semitism, and then failing, and then losing that massively. That is a sea change in New York City.
Yeah. That's a sea change in New York City. It's a sea change in American politics. And it's one that the Democrats are terrified of addressing. They are so scared of touching it. They're so scared of addressing it. It blows my mind. It is the easiest lock of all time. It is the easiest way to insta-lock a tremendous amount of goodwill. You earn so much goodwill if you just call out the easiest thing to call out, really, especially at this stage. Like, there is so much room to call out Israel, and Democrats are still failing to do so. It's like, it's mind-boggling. It blows my mind. What more do you need to hear? What more do you need to see? You have a Muslim socialist mayor who is an anti-Zionist in New York. I keep thinking about this Masterson tweet. It's true. If Zohran had lost the election, the entire Democrat Party would have used it as a mandate to take a harder turn to the right. Yes, absolutely. I can't. It makes me so mad.
Netanyahu's defense team. But then somebody like Mamdani comes up, and that's not just symbolic. That shows that there's something changing in America. There's something changing in the electorate, that this is a bigger story than just New York. There's this desire for something more. There's this desire for a different kind of politics.
While billionaires in the U.S. increasingly use their wealth to influence politics, Mamdani's win pushes back on the idea that elections are for sale.
We live in New York, in capital's seat of power.
If you told me 3 years ago that the Dem base would be more anti-Zionist than Bernie at times, I'd call you insane, but that's the reality. Yep, that is precisely what's going on.
This is the financial capital of the world. This is a place that the Bill Ackmans and the like feel like is theirs by right. In an age of oligarchy, this is the most important place that those oligarchs have to rule. Except that there's millions of us and there's vanishingly few of them.
And it may offer a lesson to Democratic Party leaders if they choose to learn from it.
I want to hold your hand when I say this. Democrats do not care. There is no relationship between what people want and what the Democratic Party is willing to advance. And there are no consequences for their lack of Democratic representation because there's always the Republican Party and they're always worse.
It stopped functioning as a party a long time ago, but it's assiduously loyal to its donors because the hierarchy of the party, if you actually created a democratic system, the hierarchy of the party wouldn't exist. And they have decided that they will keep their first-class cabins on the ship as it sinks.
Chris Hedges has such a way with words, man. It's crazy.